Welcome to Battle Companies Season 1, Episode 11. In this episode, Durins Folk will be fighting against the Warg Riders, and the Dead of Dunharrow will meet Moria. The war aftermath for the battle companies will be shown at the end of each battle. The updates to the warbands from last time can be seen in the previous video. Now I will go over today's scenario and then the battles will begin. Enjoy! This is the scoreboard from the last round. The scenario we are playing today is called Claim the Treasure. Both players roll a d6, and with the highest scoring player choosing their table edge and deploying their battle company within 12 inches of their chosen edge. Their opponent then places their own battle company within 12 inches of the opposite board edge. This is a game of objectives, 6 of them in total. Whichever battle company can hold the most objectives will be the winner. The game will end when one battle company has been reduced to 25% of its starting models. The 6 treasures scattered across the battlefield have to be picked up in order to be claimed. These objects are light objects as detailed in page 109 in the main rules manual. If a model has an objective in their possession and flees the battlefield, the objective will be dropped at their position. And lastly, models may carry more than one objective. This is the board that the battle companies are playing on today. As you can see, 6 treasures have been scattered around the battlefield. It's up to the battle companies to claim them. The first battle will be between Moria and the Dead of Dunharrow. They are equal in points because the Dead of Dunharrow are missing a Rider of the Dead. So there will be no rerolls and no extra influence points in this battle. The armies have been deployed and are ready to begin. Remember, the battle company that recovers most treasures will win the scenario. The goblins got to choose their table edge first and deployed over here. The Dead of Dunharrow responded with this deployment, so this will be exciting. In the first round, the Dead of Dunharrow got priority and moved up their entire force. This dead guy picked up 1 treasure, scoring 1 point for the Dead of Dunharrow. The goblins responded with moving up as well, claiming no objectives, but this archer has moved towards this treasure, and this archer moved half to be able to shoot and be within range of these guys. In the shooting phase, the goblins are shooting at these dead ones, prioritizing the middle one because he does not have a shield. If he dies miraculously, the next target will be the one to the left. They need 6s to hit, and they get 1 hit. 6s by 4s to wound, nothing. In the next round, the goblins got priority, and this archer claimed this treasure. This spearman over here claimed this one, and over here this spearman in the rear took control of this objective, meaning that the goblins have 3 objectives and the Dead of Dunharrow has 1, but now it's their turn to move. The Dead of Dunharrow had to move up their entire force because they do not have any shooting. They have now claimed 3 objectives, 1 over here, this one in the middle, and this one over here. Ghoul passed his terror check and charged into the troll, trying to get a wound in early on. Now it's the goblins' shooting phase, and these 4 goblins will shoot at Arthur, which is located here. They need 5s to hit, except one of them who needs 6s. And they get 2 hits. 4+ in the way roll because of the dead guy in front, and both of them goes through. And they need 6s by 4s to wound. And they get nothing. The only combat this phase is the troll versus the Rider of the Dead, and the troll will set the bar at a 6, which means he automatically wins the fights. Needing 4s to wound and going for the Rider. And he gets 2 wounds. He has only 1 fate point and 1 wound, so Ghoul is dead. The goblins got priority, and the ones carrying some treasure moved back to join up with the archers. And this group of goblins moved back, so they are just in charge range of the Dead of Dunharrow. These guys all failed their courage checks except for Sandry, who just moved up. So the troll did not get into combat this turn. The Dead of Dunharrow charged into combat with the goblins, making it a 2 versus 2 over here 2 times over. And the troll got charged as well by 2 dead ones, but Galad failed his courage check and could not charge. Sandry will throw his daggers at Galad, and he needs 5s to hit, and he misses. All of the goblin archers will shoot at the dead guy carrying the treasure, and they need 5s to hit, and they get 1 hit. 6s by force to wound, nothing. In the combat phase, the troll is facing 2 dead guys, and the troll sets the bar at a 5. And the dead ones get 2, losing the fight. The troll needs 4s to wound, prioritizing the left dead guy, and he gets 2 wounds. None of these are heroes, so they are dead. That is wrong, of course. Frode has a point of fate. He's a new hero, and he saves. This means that the troll has taken this treasure for itself. In the next fight, Arthur and his friend is fighting 2 goblins, and the dead one sets the bar at 3. The goblins get 5, winning the fight. Needing 6s by 4s to kill. And they get 1 6. Can they get a 4? They get a 4, and the dead guy is double dead. In the next fight, Caspar and a friend is fighting 1 Rark. 1 Rark and a Spearman. And the dead one sets the bar at a 3. And the goblins get 6. Needing 6s by 4s. 1 6, and that is Rark. Can he get a 4? He does! 1 wound on Caspar, and Caspar needs to take a fate roll, and he fails! But he has 2 fates and will use the last fate point now, and he saves. The army of the dead got priority and charged into the troll. They have to take it out, or it will be the end of them. This one, this is Arthur, I think. Yes, he went into combat with this goblin holding an objective, and over here we have 2 2-on-2 fights. But the goblins have yet to move. The goblins responded, but they responded with fear. Only one of them got into combat over here. And over here 1 bowman got into combat with Archer. And here they just froze still and couldn't get 1 charge in. No shooting and straight into combat. The troll sets the bar at a 5. And the dead ones, with Galad leading them, get 6, winning the fight. This is scary for the troll. As you well know, the dead strikes against courage, and the troll has a courage of 3, which means they need 4s to wound him. Can they kill it? Can they kill it? Yes, they do! They kill the troll. The troll is dead. What a blow to the goblins. In the fight over here, Arthur sets the bar at a 6, wonderful, and the goblins get also 6, but they lose on fight value. Arthur goes for the goblin with the treasure, and he needs a 4-up to kill him, and he gets it. The goblin is dead, and the treasure is transferred to Arthur. In the next fight, 2 goblins is fighting 2 dead ones, and the goblins, they get 6s. That is a really strong throw, and the dead ones get 5. 6s to kill, and they get it! This dead one is dead. This goblin takes over the objective. Now we have a 1 versus 1 over here. The dead guy gets a 2, and the goblin gets 4, winning the fight. 6s to kill, and he gets it! The dead guy is double dead. And the last fight, Caspar is fighting 2 goblins, and Caspar sets the bar at a 3, and the goblins get 6. Caspar has an arm wound, which means he does not have a shield, and that in turn means the goblins need 6s to kill him, and they don't get it. Archer is trying to get into combat with these 2 goblins, and he casts a transfix on the goblin with the treasures. He needs a 3-up, and he gets a 2. He will use 1 point of might to make that into a 3, making this goblin transfixed. He then moves into combat with them. This goblin archer and this black shield with spear failed their courage check, but the rest of the goblins got into combat, except for these two who does not have the range to get in. Over here we have a 3 versus 4 scenario. In the first fight, Sandry is fighting Frody, and Frody sets the bar. Sandry is using his two-handed weapon, and Frody gets a 3 and Sandry gets a 4. Because of Galad's heroic presence, he has a banner, so Frody can reroll his die, and he gets a 5, winning the fights. Forced to kill? He gets it. Sandry will use his fate point, and he fails. Sork with the spear support will fight Galad, and the goblin sets the bar at a 6, and Galad gets a 3, but he can re-roll because of his heroic presence, and he still fails. 6s by 4s to wound Galad, and they get 1/6. Sork will use his point of might to turn this 5 into a 6, which means 2 of them goes through, and now they need force. Can they wound him? They get 1 wound. Fate roll? He fails! But he will use a point of might to turn that into a 4, making it a save, and he is still in the game. And this fight over here, the dead one sets the bar at a 6, winning the fight. Needing force to kill, and he gets the 6, and the goblin is dead. In the next fight, the goblins fights Archer, and the goblin sets the bar at a 4, and Archer gets a 2. One of the goblins is transfixed and cannot make strikes, but the other 2 will, and they need 6s to wound him. Nothing. In the next fight, Caspar is fighting a goblin, and the goblin sets the bar 2, and Caspar 3, easy. Forced to kill? He gets it. The goblin is dead. And the last fight, 4 goblins are fighting a dead guy, and the goblins with Gosh in the front will set the bar at a 5, and the dead one gets a 3. The goblins need 6s by 4s to kill, and they get 1/6. Can they get a 4? And no! In the next round, the goblins got priority and trapped Archer over here, and over here we have 2 against 1, and Caspar is yet to be challenged. Caspar went into combat with Gosh, and Galad and a friend went into combat with Sork. Let's have the fight phase. Sork and a friend against Galad, and they get 6. What? Triple 6s! Galad with spear support. Can they answer this? No, they cannot, but they have a reroll. Can they get a 6? No. The goblins need 6s by 4s to wound Galad, and they get nothing. 1, 2, 3. In this fight, Archer sets the bar, and he gets a 3, and the goblins get 6, and he's trapped, so double damage this turn. The goblins need 6s to wound. Can they get it? And they get 1. I can't remember if Archer used his fate, but he will do it anyways, and he fails. So he is dead. And the last fight, Caspar +1 against Gosh +1, and the dead guy sets the bar at 5. And the goblins get 4, but Gosh has 1 reroll on the dual rolls every round. No, it's not good enough. And forced to wound Gosh, and they get 1 wound, and Gosh will use a fate point, which he saves. In the next round, Sork and his friend charged into Galad, and over here 6 goblins went into combat with these 2 dead ones, but these stood still because they failed their courage checks. This goblin picked up another treasure and has now 3, so the score is now 4 to the goblins and 2 to the Dead of Dunharrow, which has yet to move. The only one who could move was the one with the objectives, and he went into combat with this spearman. The first fight is Sork versus Galad and a friend, and Sork will be shielding, doubling his attacks to 4 attacks, and he sets the bar at a 6. Strong start. Galad and his friend answers with a 5, but can reroll because of the banner, and gets a 3, so it's not enough. A goblin versus a dead one. The goblin gets 2, and the dead one 6. Needing force to kill? No. The next fight is 2 goblins versus a dead one, and the goblin sets the bar at a 6, and the dead guy gets a 2. He is not within banner reach, so he loses the fight. The goblins need 6s by force to kill, and they get nothing. And the last fight, Caspar is fighting 4 goblins, and he will be shielding, setting the bar at a 5. And the goblins get 4 high. In the next round, the goblins got priority, but all of them failed their courage checks, except for this archer, which went into combat with Caspar. This archer back here moved back with his objectives. He has 3 now, and now it's the Dead of Dunharrow's turn to move. Galad went into combat with Zork, and his friend went into the Spearman, and over here the last Dead of Dunharrow went into combat with Gosh. Not the last. This is the last one who went into combat with this archer. Zork will be shielding, and he sets the bar at a 4, and Galad gets a 6. Force the wound? No. In this fight, the goblin sets the bar, and he gets a 3, and the dead one gets a 1. Rerolling because of Galad, and gets a 4, winning the fight. Forced to kill the goblin? No. In this fight, the goblin sets the bar at a 1 and loses automatically. The dead one needs force to kill, and he gets it. The archer is dead. Caspar against the goblin, and the goblin sets the bar at a 2, and Caspar gets a 6, needing force to kill the goblin. No. Gosh will be shielding, and he sets the bar at a 5, and the dead one gets also 5. Gosh can re-roll because of Blade Master, and he gets double 5, but that is not enough. Force to kill, and he gets the wound. And Gosh has no fate left, so he is dead. The goblins got priority, and almost everyone went into combat, except for this black shield and this regular one with shield. The archer with the objectives are running away, so let's see what the Dead of Dunharrow will do now. The army of the dead have to take courage checks to see if they stay on the board, so let's start with Frody. And he makes it, and this one is within 6 inches of Frody, so he's good. And this Dead of Dunharrow moved into combat to get 2 of the goblins off of Caspar. This one started to chase down the goblin because he has 3 of the objective points. In the combat phase, Galad is fighting Sork and a friend, and the goblin sets the bar at a 5. Galad gets a 1, but he will re-roll, and he gets 1 again, losing the fight. 6s by force to win Galad, and they get 1 6. Can they get a 4? They do! Galad has no fate left, so he is dead. In the next fight, the dead one is fighting 2 goblins, and the dead guy gets a 2, and the goblins get 3, winning the fight. Needing 6s by force to kill. And they get a 6. Can they get a 4? Yes, they do, and the dead guy is dead. Caspar against Rark and a friend, and the goblin sets the bar at a 5, and Caspar gets a 2. 6s by force to kill, and they get 1 6. Can they get a 4? No. But this die was Rark, and he has a point of might, so he will make that into a 4. And Caspar has no fate left, so Caspar is dead. And the last fight, the goblin sets the bar and gets double 1s. And the dead guy A 2! They are really exhausted now. Now, this is exciting, because if the game ends right here, the goblins will win with 4-2 points. But if this dead guy can kill this goblin, he will get that objective, and the score will be a draw, 3-3. It all comes down to a 50-50 chance, needing a 4-up to tie the game. No! The Dead of Dunharrow loses, and Moria goblins are victorious. Alright, welcome to the War Aftermath. Let's start with the troll injury rolls. And he has a full recovery. And the next one, full recovery. And the next one gets a 6. That's a full recovery. And the next one, 9 full recovery. And the last warrior, 11 full recovery. Sandry has to roll on the hero injury table, and he gets a 9, which is just a scratch. He will roll again and gets an 11. That is a full recovery in addition to d6 influence points, and that is 1. So 1 extra influence point. And Gash is the last one, and he gets a 9, just a scratch. We'll roll again, gets a 5, and that is a leg wound. Okay, so 4 of the goblins got enough experience to try a promotion. Let's start with the Black Shield. Will he become a hero on a 6? And he does! He gets 1 point of fate and becomes a hero. Now, what about this spearman over here? No, nothing. And this warrior with shield? No. And Rark? He is on the path of the warrior. So he gets 5, and 5 on path of the warrior is courage. +1 courage for you. Now for reinforcements. Moria has 6 influence points and will use 3 of them to roll on the reinforcement table. And they get a 5, which is 2 Moria goblins with choice of weapon. And they choose 1 goblin with shield and 1 goblin with spear. They are now 20 strong and cannot have any more troops. Alright, so the goblins have 3 influence points left. As the next battle is the last battle, they will use these influence points to purchase poison blades, which means they must re-roll any rolls to wound of a 1 in close combats. Next, we will do the Dead of Dunharrow War Aftermath and start with injuries. On the warrior models from the left, we have a full recovery, and the next one, a full recovery, I guess, yeah. And the next one, full recovery. Starting to say it before the dice has been rolled. Next one, full recovery, and the last one, full recovery. Now for the heroes, starting with Galad. He gets a 7, which is a full recovery. He will also cure his leg wound. Next is Ghoul, and he gets 9, which is just a scratch. He will roll again, and he gets an 8, which is a full recovery. Archer is next, and he gets a 10, which is an old battle wound. And last but not least, we have Caspar, and he gets a 9, which is just a scratch. And he rolls again, getting a 9, which is just a scratch. And an 8, which is a full recovery. And that will heal his arm wound. Alright, so the Dead of Dunharrow got 3 models that got enough experience to be promoted. Starting from the right, we have a warrior with spear and shield. On a 6, he becomes a hero. And he does! Wonderful! He gets 1 fate and a name. Next is Caspar, and he will continue on the path of the warrior. He gets 7, and that is fight, so he gets +1 fight value. As Ghoul is a hero, he can choose a path, and he will choose the path of the knight. And he gets 5. That is courage. That is boring. Oh well. Well, actually, he cannot get courage because he already has maximum of 5. I believe he has 6. So he will roll again. Sorry about that. And gets a 2, and that is effortless leap. Whilst mounted, the hero may add 2 to any jump test they make. Boring again, but what can you do? That's what you get. Also, they have 4 influence points and will use 3 of them for reinforcements. And they get a 4, which is Warrior of the Dead with Spear. And then they will use the last influence point to make that into a 3, going down in this case to get a Warrior of the Dead with Shield. The next battle is between Durins Folk and the Warg Riders. Both armies have 15 models each, but the dwarves are higher in point value. Gando, Goff and Kaza has to roll old battle wounds, and starting with Gando, he gets a 5, so he can join the battle, and Goff gets a 3, and Kaza a 2, so all 3 can join the battle. The dwarves have 68 points more than the Warg Riders, so the Warg Riders will get 4 influence points and 4 rerolls during the battle. The dwarves won the roll-off and deployed their forces on this side of the battlefield, having their archers in the middle and 2 heroes and 4 warriors, or there are some other heroes over there, but they are at least 6 dwarves over to the right here, and 2 iron shields with supports and an iron guard and cassette guard over here. The Warg Riders deployed over here with their archers in the middle of the board. The ones with the shield to the left and the ones with throwing spear on the right. This game is going to be exciting. Will the wargs outmaneuver the dwarves, or will the sturdiness of the dwarves win the day? In the first round, the Warg Riders got priority and moved their entire force towards the dwarves. One warg picked up an objective over here, and another warg picked up an objective over here. The reason that the wargs are doing it and not the Warg Riders is that the Warg Riders has to dismount to get the objective. So the wargs that are infantry models can claim the objectives without any penalties. The dwarves rushed forward as fast as they could to try to claim their objectives on their side of the board. Turbo claimed this objective over here, and Gando is falling a little bit behind because of his leg wound, but next turn they may get the other 2 objectives. In the shooting phase, these 3 dwarves will shoot their bows at the Warg Riders with bow, prioritizing the one on the right. And they need 4s on the green die and 5s on the white ones. And they get 2 hits. Turbo is the green dice, and he will make, so one of his, the 3 is made up to a 4 because of his 3 points of might every turn when shooting. So, will the shots hit the warg or the riders? 2 on the wargs and 1 on the riders. Starting with the rider on the right, needing 5s to kill. No. And then the warg on the right, needing 5s to kill. And gets the kill, and the next warg, he gets that one too. So both of these wargs are dead and the riders are thrown. Throne rider for the right one, he's good. And throne rider on the next one, he's also good. I do not have any painted orc models, so these goblins will have to do. I totally forgot that these Warg Riders could throw their throwing spears, or at least 2 of them could. So we will take that now. They will throw their spears at Guff over here, and they need 6s to hit. Nothing. The dwarves got priority and moved up their entire force. Gando claimed this objective over here. Trubo is still holding on to this objective and moved forward with his bowmen to support in close combat, because they're gonna need their numbers. Gruul went and claimed this objective over here, and now on to the Warg Riders' turn. The Warg Riders charged in at all fronts. Over here we have some combats, and the archers moved around to get a shot off at these dwarves. Here we have 5 Warg Riders with throwing spear who will throw their spears on their way into combat, and the one Warg went and claimed 1 objective, so he has now 2, and the other one followed after him to protect his objective. Starting with the Warg Rider with throwing spear on the right, he needs 5s to hit. And he hits, and he needs 6s to wound. No. The next one at Midzu, needing 5s to hit. No, and he moves into combat. The next one over here will throw at Gando, and he needs 5s. Nothing, but he will go into combat with him. This one will throw at Guff, and he needs 5 up. And he hits, needing 6s to kill. Nothing. And the last one over here gets a 1 and moves into combat. The dwarves moved full, so they cannot fire their bows, but the orcs can, and they will fire at Thrubo, and they need 6s to hit. Except for the white one, who needs 5s, but only 1 hit. 6s to wound? Nothing. On to the combat phase. Gruul versus Snugug. He's a hero, and 3s for the dwarf, and Snugug gets 5. Needing 5s to kill. And he gets 1-5. Can he save with a fate roll? He does. Next we have a Khazad Guard against the Warg Rider, and the Warg Rider gets 6, and the Khazad Guard gets a 2. He is knocked prone, and the Warg Rider needs 6s to kill him. Nothing. First Vault Warden team against the Warg Rider, and the Warg Rider gets 6, and the Vault Warden team gets 3. Needing 6s by force to kill. Nothing. And this fights, the Warg Rider gets a 6, and the Vault Warden team gets a 2. 6s by force to kill, and he gets 2 6s. Can he get a 4? No, a 2 and a 1. In the next fight, Brummel is fighting a Warg Rider with throwing spear, and the Warg Rider gets 4, and Brummel 6 minus 1 is 5, so he wins the fight. Going for the Rider and needs 4s to kill him, and he gets a 2. Midzu against the Warg Rider, and the Warg Rider gets 3, and oh, that's a cocked die. Roll again. A 3, and Midzu, having the Burly rule, wins the fight. Going for the Rider and needs 4 up. No! In this fight, Gando will be shielding, and the Warg Rider sets the bar at a 5, and Gando gets also 5, but wins on fight value. And the next fight, Guff will be shielding, and he gets a 3, and the Warg Rider gets a 4. He is knocked prone, and the Warg Riders need 6s to kill him. And they get 1-6, but he has a point of fate. Can he save it? He does. And the last fight over here, the Warg Rider sets the bar at a 5, and the Dwarf gets a 1. He is knocked prone, and the Warg Riders needs 5s to kill him. Oh, it's a 6, so he's dead. This could have gone much worse for the dwarves, and now it's a new turn. Let's see who gets priority. Alright, the priority went to the Warg Riders, but Trubo over here will use heroic move with me, and Gando will also use that rule. This is then countered by Arset in the back here, and Snugug over here, so we have some roll-offs to do. I went over the rules for heroic actions, and the way this works is that because the Warg Riders have priority, the dwarves elect to use a heroic action first. In this case, Trubo will make that choice. In response, Snugug makes a heroic move as well, then Gando makes an heroic move, and then Arset makes an heroic move. So the way we determine this, on a 1 to 3 it goes to evil, and on a 4 to 6 it goes to good, to make the first heroic action. So let's roll. Goes to evil, so evil will make the first heroic action. Now, Snugug and his forces moved into combat over here, and the good player can now elect to use Trubo's heroic move or Gando's heroic move, so they will use Gando's. And they went into combat with all the Warg Riders with throwing spears. Now Arset can make a heroic move. And he chose to go into combat with Trubo, which means that Trubo's heroic move is cancelled. Now the rest of the wargs gets a move, and they just shimmy about to stick together and holding the objectives. And then the rest of the dwarves just piles into combat. No shooting this turn, but a lot of close combat. So let's start with Guff versus a Warg Rider with Throwing Spear. And Guff sets the bar at a 4, and the Warg Rider gets also 4, but loses on fight value. Guff will strike at the Rider, needing 5 up. No. Now it's Kaza's turn, and he sets the bar at a 5, and the Warg Rider 6. Kaza will use a Points of Might to turn his 5 into a 6, winning the fight. Striking at the Rider, needing a 5 up. And he gets it! The Rider is dead. Courage test for the Warg. It flees! He's dead. That Warg Rider was a hero and has a point of fate. And he fails. Gando against the Warg Rider, and Gando gets a 4. And the Warg Rider... Oh, that's a cocked die. Let's roll it again. A 5. Needing 6s to kill. Nothing. Midzu against the Warg Rider, and Midzu gets a 6, and he wins automatically. Going for the Rider, needing 4 up. And he gets it! The Rider is dead. Will the Warg stay, or will it flee? It flees, so he's gone. Brummel versus a Warg Rider, and Brummel fighting two-handed gets a 2, which turns down to a 1, and the Warg Rider gets a 1! And Brummel wins on fight value. Needing a 4 up to kill the Rider. No. Arset versus Trubo over here, and Arset sets the bar at a 3, and Trubo gets a 5. Going for Arset, he needs a 5 up to kill him, and he gets a 6. That's a wound. Arset has 2 points of fate and rolling one now. He fails. Can he save it with the second one? Yes, he does. Drudar and a friend is fighting a Warg Rider, and the dwarf sets the bar at a 6, and the Warg Rider gets 2, losing the fight. The dwarves are going for the Rider, needing 5 up to kill him, and they get 2 wounds. Will the Warg stay? Courage check. No, it flees. Warg Rider against the Iron Shield and Foe Spear Vault Warden team, and the Warg Rider gets a 3, and the Vault Warden team gets 6, winning the fight. They are going for the Rider and needs 5 up to kill him, and they get 1-5, and this is not a hero, so he is dead. But will the Warg stay? Courage test. No, they flee. In the next fight, the Warg Rider sets the bar at a 3, and the Vault Warden team gets 6, winning the fight. Incredible effort from the dwarves. Going for the Rider once again, needing 5s, and gets 2 6s. The Rider is dead. Will the Warg flee? It does. Incredible effort now from the dwarves. Warg Rider against a Khazad Guard, and the Warg Rider gets a 4, and the Khazad Guard gets also 4, but that is turned down to a 3 because of his two-handed weapon. Needing 6s to kill? Nothing. Snugug against the Gruul, and the Warg Rider gets 2, and Gruul, which has cured his arm wound, has 2 attacks. He also gets a 2, but wins on fight value. But Snugug will use a point of might to win the fight. My bad, Snugug does not have any might left, so he loses the fight. And Gruul hits the Rider, needing 5s to kill, and he gets a 6. Fate roll for Snugug. He makes it. This was an incredible round for the dwarves, killing lots of models. 5, I think they did, and only lost 1 in return. Or was that last round? I think that was last round, yeah. So, we're moving on to a new round. Priority went to the Warg Riders, but Kaza is using his last point of might to call a heroic move. And he used that move to engage 3 of the Warg riders, and Midsu went to the back to engage the Warg with a objective. Realizing that they are getting outnumbered fast, one of the Warg riders moved over here to support on this flank. Arset went into combat with Trubo with his archer friends, and Snugug holding off the Iron Shield Guard Vault Warden team. Gruul and the Cassette Guard moved closer to the action over here. In the fight phase, the Warg Rider is setting the bar against 2 Vault Warden teams and gets a 6, and the Vault Warden teams get 5. Needing 6s by force to wound, starting at one of the Iron Shields. And nothing. And the second attack, also nothing. Drudar against an Orc, and the Orc gets 1, and Drudar 3, winning the fight. 5s to kill? No. The next fight is the Orc Warrior against a Dwarf Warrior, and the Orc gets a 2, and the Dwarf Warrior gets a 6. 5s to kill the Orc? No. Trubo against Arset, and Trubo gets a 2. Arset gets a 4, winning the fight. Needing 5s to wound Trubo, he gets 1/6. Fate roll, he makes it. In the next fight, Brummel is fighting a Warg Rider, and Brummel gets 4. Warg Rider gets 5. 5s to kill, he gets it. Fate roll, oh, he saves. And now Midsu is fighting 2 Wargs, and the Warg sets the bar at a 5, and Midsu, being burly, gets a 3. The Wargs needs 5s to wound and gets 1/5. Fate roll, he saves. Kaza and Gando against the Warg Rider. I forgot that Gando has 2 attacks. He got an upgrade, so he will get a 6, winning the fight automatically. 3 attacks, prioritizing the Rider and needing force on both the Rider and Warg. Let's see what they get. Nothing. And lastly, we have Goff against the Rider, and Goff gets a 2, and the Rider gets also 2 and loses on fight value. Goff is going for the Rider, needing 5s to kill. No. The Dwarves get priority, but Arset is the only one with might left on the table, so he will use that to make a heroic move. And because of that, Snugug makes his charge into the Vault Warden teams once again. The Orc Archers got into combat with the Dwarven Archers, and Arset moved into combat with Trubo. Over here, one Warg Rider went into combat with Brummel, and the last Warg Rider with throwing spear within range of his heroic with me will throw his spear on the way in, and needing a 5 up. And he misses. And now the dwarfs got to go, and Cassette Guard went into combat with this orc over here. Gruul went into combat with Arset over here, and Mitsu got into combat with this warg, Kasa with this warg, Goff with this Warg Rider, and Gando with this Warg Rider. Lots of combats, and everything can happen. Starting with Snugug against the Vault Warden teams, Snugug sets the bar at a 6. It's a good start. And the Vault Warden teams needs a 6 to win this fight. No! Needing 6s by force, 1 attack on one of the shields, and gets 2 6s. Can he get a 4? Oh, he gets 2 4s. He is dead. And the second attack on the other shield. Needing 6s? No, nothing. Next, we have a Cassette Guard against an Orc, and the Orc gets 3, and Cassette Guard 1. The Orc needs 6s to kill, and it doesn't get it. 2 Dwarves against an Orc, and the Dwarves get 5, and the Orc 2. They will use one of their rerolls to reroll this, and gets a 5, but that is not enough. The Dwarves needs 5s to kill, and gets 1 5, so the Orc is dead. Gruul and Trubo are fighting the Warg Rider Arset, and the Dwarf sets the bar at a 2. That is bad. And Arset 4, winning the fight. His first attack will go against Gruul, needing 5s to kill him. And nothing. And his second attack on Gruul as well, getting the 6. And he has no fate left, so he is dead, dropping the objective. Over here, Brummel is fighting 2 charging Warg Riders, and he will strike without his two-handed weapon, needing a high number here, and he gets a 5, which is really good. And the Warg Riders get 3 high, which means he wins the fight. Striking at the one with the shield, needing a 5 up to kill the rider, and nothing. Gando against the Warg Rider with throwing spear, and Gando gets a 6, winning the fight automatically. Striking the rider and needs a 5 up to kill. No! Guff against a rider, and Guff sets the bar at a 4, and the rider gets a 3. Needing 5s to kill the rider, and he gets a 3. Kaza against the Warg over here, and Kaza sets the bar at a 4, and the Warg gets a 3, losing the fight. Kaza needs 5s to kill the Warg, and he gets a 4. And the last fight this round, Midzu is fighting the Warg with 2 objectives, and Midzu gets a 1, and the Warg 6. Needing 5s to kill Midzu, and he gets it! Midzu has no fate, so he is dead. The Warg Riders got priority, and as there are no might left on the board, the fate is what the fate is. So, there are a lot of combats. The Warg Riders got to charge in everywhere, but some of the dwarves got to counter-charge, so we have a lot of exciting combats this round. Starting with Snugug over here, he sets the bar at a 6. And the Wolf Warden teams gets also 6, winning the fights. Snugug is in bad shape. 6 attacks against him and his Warg. Let's start with Snugug. The Wolf Warden teams needs 5s to kill and gets 1 6. And Snugug is out of fate, so the rest of the attacks will go on the Warg, needing 4s. The Warg is dead, and Snugug also. In the next fight, Drudar is fighting an Orc, and the Orc sets the bar at a 2, and Drudar gets a 5. Needing 5s to kill? No. A Warg Rider is fighting a Casted Guard and a Dwarf Warrior with bow, and the Warg Rider gets 4, and the Dwarves get 6. The Casted Guard is going for the Rider, and he needs 4s to kill him. And he doesn't get it, and the other dwarf needs 5s. And he gets it! The Warg Rider is dead. Will the Warg flee? It does not, it stays. Trubo against Arset once again, and Arset sets the bar at a 6. Strong start, and Trubo gets 3. He is knocked prone, and Arset needing 5s to kill him. And he gets nothing! Over here, Brummel sets the bar. He will fight two-handed and gets a 3. And the Warg Rider, 5. 5s to kill, and he gets the 6. Brummel is dead. Gando against a Warg Rider, and the Warg Rider gets 5. Gando gets also 5, winning on fight value. 5s to kill the Rider. Nothing. Guff against a Warg Rider, and Guff will be shielding, and he gets a 6, very strong. And 5 for the Warg Rider, meaning he losing the fight. Kaza is the last fight in this round, and he will not be shielding, taking a risk here, and he gets a 2. This is not good. The Wargs get 4. They need 6s to kill him, and nothing. Alright, the dwarves got priority and charged in to negate all charging bonuses for the Warg Riders. But they countered as well, so we have some interesting matchup over here. Let's take a look at a recap of the points so far. Trubo has 1 point over here, and Kaza has 1 point over here. The one Warg has 2 points, and the other Warg has 1 point, so the Warg Riders are currently in the lead. And 1 point is up for grabs over here. Starting with this fight, an Orc is fighting a Wolf Warden team, and the Orc gets a 5, and the Wolf Warden team gets 2. The orc needs 6s by 5s to kill the iron shield, and nothing. The regular dwarf warrior against the warg, and the dwarf gets a 2, and the warg 5. Needing 5 up to kill, nothing. True bow supported by a foe spear against Arset, and the dwarves get 5, and Arset gets 6. Needing 5s to kill true bow, no. Gando against the Warg Rider, and Gando gets 5. And the Warg Rider also 5, but loses on fight value. Going for the Rider, needing 5s to kill. And he gets 2 6s, which means 1 gets on the Rider and 1 gets on the Warg. So he is dead. Kaza is surrounded and is biding his time with the shielding. So let's see what he gets. He gets double 6s. Wow, that is good. The Warg Riders cannot beat that, so he wins. And the last fight, Goff is setting the bar on a 4, and the Warg Rider 5. Needing 6s to kill Goff? No. As of this moment, the Warg Riders are broken and will have to start to take courage tests. And they don't have a lot of good courage over here. So let's see how this turns out. Alright, so the dwarfs got priority and charged into the Warg Riders, leaving the wargs because of hoping they will fail their courage checks. This warg over here, will it stay or go? It will stay and charges into this dwarf. This warg, will it stay? It will! And he charges into Gando. And the last warg, can he stay his nerve? He does! Incredible! Into Kaza with him. This game is really close. Let's start with the combats. Goff is setting the bar. He gets a 1. And the Warg Rider also 1, which means he loses on fight value. Goff needing 5s to kill, and he gets it. Will the warg stay or will it flee? It stays! Kaza against a warg, and Kaza sets the bar at a 6, winning the fight automatically. Needing 5s to kill the warg? No. Gando versus a warg, and Gando gets a 2, and the warg also 2, losing the fight. Gando needs 5s to kill, and he gets double 1s. Warg Rider against Khazad Guard, and the Khazad Guard gets a 6, very strong. Only a 6 will beat that, and a 3. Because the Khazad Guard has a strength of 4, and the Warg Rider has a defense of 4. It's normally a 4+, but the Khazad Guard has a 2-handed weapon, which means he needs 3s to kill, going for the Rider. No, he gets 1. Vault Warden team against Nork, and the Vault Warden team gets a 3, and the Orc 5. Needing 6s by 5s, no. A Warg against a Dwarf, and the Warg gets a 2, and the Dwarf gets 4, and needs a 5 to kill the Warg, no. Once again, Trubo and Arset are going against each other, and the Dwarves get 5, and Arset 6. Needing 5s, will he kill him this time? No. A lot could have happened this turn, but nothing did. On to the next one. Once again, the dwarves got priority and was really tactical about their charges, only attacking the Warg Riders to negate their charge. And now on to some courage tests. Let's see what this Warg does. It stays and goes into combat with this dwarf. And this Warg, it flees and loses his objectives. This Warg over here flees as well. And the one in the back also is a gunner, losing his objective. On to the combat phase. The orc standing through, or not through, but through, gets a 3, and the Voltborn team gets a 4, needing 4s to kill, and he's dead. This warg against this dwarf, and the warg gets a 3, and the dwarf also 3, winning the fight, needing 5s to kill the warg. No. Arset sets the bar and he gets a 3. And the dwarves wins on a 5. This is not looking good for Arset. 8 attacks against him, needing 5s and 4s to kill. And 1-5, so he barely takes a wound. But he has no fate left and he's dead. And his warg flees as well. And this fight over here, the Warg Rider sets the bar at a 5. And the dwarves get 6. Doubling their attacks, the Castle Guard will start needing 3s to kill. And he gets 2 wounds, so both the Warg and the Rider is dead. At the end of the turn, the dwarves have 3 points and the Warg Riders have 0. And only 1 model left. So let's see if the game ends on a 1 or a 2. It does not. Priority went to the Warg Riders this turn and he has to take a courage check and he passes. Incredible. By the way, he chooses to flee because he wants to spare his life and this battle is lost anyway. So congratulations to Durins Folk, you are victorious in this scenario. Now it's time for the war aftermath and we'll start with injury rolls. And the warriors get, from the left, a 12, so a full recovery. The Iron Shield, a 6 full recovery. And the two-handed weapon gets a 6 full recovery. He was actually a hero, but it's still a full recovery. Gruul is a hero and he gets 7 full recovery. And the last one is also a hero, gets a 6 full recovery. A lot of dwarf got enough experience to roll on the advancement table. Let's start with the warriors. On a 6 they become a hero. This foe spear, nope. And the Iron Shield over here, nope. And the foe spear in the back, no. Next we have Gando, which is on the path of the general, and he gets 10, and that is might or will. He will choose might. Next we have Trubo, and he is on the path of the ranger, and he gets a 9, which is defense. Increases their defense value by 1. Now it's Drudar's turn, and he is also on the path of the ranger, and he gets a 3, which is Seasoned Archer. The hero may still fire their bow even if they have moved their full move allowance, or their crossbow if they have moved half their move allowance. That is a nice upgrade. Goff is on the path of the warrior. Let's do him next. He gets 6, and that is attack or wound. And he will choose attack, making him a 2-attack monster. Lastly, we have Gruul, and he has not chosen a path yet, but he will choose the path of the warrior, and he gets 8, and that is strength or defense. Let's give him some strength, eh? Up to a strength of 5. Durins Folk is at full capacity troops-wise. They are 15 models strong, which means they cannot get any more reinforcements and will use their influence points this time to purchase a lucky talisman. Gando will take this talisman and it will make it so that he can reroll failed fate rolls. War aftermath for the Warg Riders. They have taken a lot of casualties. Let's start with injury rolls for the heroes. Arset is first and he gets a 11, which is the wounds of a hero. He gets a full recovery and d6 influence points. 5 extra influence points. Snugug is next and he gets a full recovery. Lastly, we have Osgard and he gets a 6, which is a full recovery. Next, we have the warriors, starting from the left. A lot of rolls to be made here. That's a full recovery. And the next one, the archer, 5, he misses the next battle. And the next one, full recovery. And the next one with the shield, full recovery. The throwing spear is next and he gets a full recovery. And another throwing spear, he gets a full recovery. And one archer over here gets a full recovery. Another throwing spear gets a 5 and has to miss the next battle. And this one with the shield gets a full recovery. And the last archer gets a 3. He's dead. On to advancements. These 5 warriors got promoted. And let's start with this warrior. On a 6 he becomes a hero. And he does not. Next we have this warg rider and he gets a 4, so nothing. This warg over here gets a 6 and becomes a hero. And this warg, he gets a 6 and becomes a hero. And now we have Snugug. He will roll on the path of the warrior and he gets 10. That is might or will, so he will choose might. And now for reinforcements. The warg riders lost one of their members and will roll for reinforcements once again. They have 8 influence points and they get a 2, which is a wild warg. They will turn that into a 4 using 2 influence points to get a rider with orc bow to replace the one that died. The last remaining 3 influence points the warg riders will use on giving Snugug, Arset and Asgarg poison blades, which means they can reroll any wound roll of a 1 when in close combat. This is the updated scoreboard. This is it for now. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more exciting content like this. By subscribing, you'll stay up to date with our latest videos and be a part of our growing community. We appreciate your support and it encourages us to create more valuable content. So go ahead, hit the like and subscribe buttons and we'll see you in the next video.